In Houston, a 9-year-old girl was told she would never walk again. Doctors gave up, and her mother lost all hope. But then, a young mechanic stepped in with nothing but determination and kindness. What happened next shocked the world and changed their lives forever. Like, share and subscribe, and tell us where you're watching from. Now let's get started. In Houston, Texas, the hot summer sun pressed down on the city streets, reflecting off cars and buildings with an almost punishing heat. Inside a small apartment, Anna Parker carried the quiet weight of despair. Her daughter, Lily, had been paralyzed since a tragic accident 3 years earlier, leaving her confined to an old, outdated wheelchair. Anna had spent every ounce of savings, every sleepless night chasing specialists, and every hope dashed by the same cruel words. "There's nothing more we can do." At just 9 years old, Lily's smile had dimmed, and Anna's heart ached daily to see her child suffering. Anna tried to stay strong for Lily, but inside she was exhausted. Bills piled up on the kitchen counter, appointments became routine disappointments, and the vibrant little girl she once knew grew quiet. Lily's friends had stopped visiting, her days filled mostly with silence, television, and long stares out the window. Anna longed to give her daughter freedom, but with her modest income and dwindling energy, options felt impossible. She often cried late at night when Lily was asleep, whispering apologies that her child could never hear. Life felt like an endless loop of struggle without relief. That particular afternoon, fate intervened in the most unexpected way. Anna's old car sputtered and died on the side of the road as she was driving Lily back from yet another fruitless hospital visit. Frustrated and overheated, Anna tried restarting the engine to no avail. She leaned her head on the steering wheel, wondering how much more she could endure. Lily, sitting quietly in her chair beside her, looked at her mother with sad eyes and whispered softly, "It's okay, Mum." The innocence in her voice only made Anna's heart break more deeply. As Anna stepped out to check under the hood, she noticed a small garage across the street. Its sign was faded, its paint peeling, and its lot cluttered with half-fixed cars and scattered tools. A young man in grease-stained clothes stood in the doorway, wiping his hands on an old rag. He couldn't have been more than 25, with messy hair and eyes that carried both weariness and kindness. Despite her hesitation, Anna waved him over, desperate for help. He walked quickly, a curious mix of confidence and humility in his stride. "Having car trouble?" the man asked with a calm smile. His voice carried warmth that immediately eased Anna's nerves. She nodded, explaining the engine wouldn't start. He leaned over the hood, fiddling with wires and belts, as if the machine spoke a language only he understood. While he worked, his eyes drifted toward Lily, who sat quietly in her wheelchair, watching him with timid curiosity. The man crouched down, smiling directly at the girl, and introduced himself. "I'm Michael Reed," he said gently, "and you must be the bravest co-pilot your mom has." Lily's lips curved into the faintest smile, one Anna hadn't seen in days. Michael returned to the car, quickly identifying the issue and repairing it with practiced hands. But his gaze kept flickering toward Lily's chair, noticing its worn wheels, frayed wires, and sluggish motor. When the car roared back to life, Anna exhaled in relief, ready to thank him and leave. But Michael didn't step back. Instead, he pointed softly toward Lily's chair. "I couldn't help but notice. It's giving her trouble, isn't it?" he asked. Anna hesitated, unsure how to respond. She had grown used to strangers offering pity or judgment, but rarely genuine help. "Yes," Anna admitted, her voice low. "It breaks down often. The doctors, they said there's nothing advanced enough to help her walk again. We've tried everything." Her words cracked with exhaustion. Michael knelt beside the chair, running his hands gently along the frame, studying it as though it were just another machine to be understood. His brow furrowed with focus, but his eyes glimmered with determination. "I can try to make this better," he said simply, his tone steady and sure. Anna blinked, surprised. No doctor had ever spoken with such quiet confidence. No specialist had ever said, "I can try," without caveats or disclaimers. "You're not a medical expert," she whispered, half questioning, half hopeful. Michael shook his head lightly. "No, ma'am. I'm just a mechanic." But machines don't scare me, and sometimes all they need is a little heart. His sincerity disarmed her, melting away her hesitation. She glanced at Lily, whose wide eyes glistened with a spark Anna hadn't seen in months. For once her daughter looked hopeful. That was enough for Anna to say yes. Michael asked them to bring the chair to his garage. With care, he wheeled Lily across the street, speaking to her directly, asking what she wished her chair could do. Lily's answers were shy at first. Move faster, turn easier, not stop all the time. But soon her imagination began to spill. She wanted to feel like other kids, to race, to move without fear of getting stuck. Michael listened attentively, nodding with every word, as though each idea was a blueprint waiting to be built. Anna stood nearby, stunned at how easily her daughter was opening up. Inside the garage, the smell of oil and metal filled the air, a stark contrast to sterile hospital corridors. Tools hung on the walls, parts scattered across benches, and an old radio played softly in the corner. Michael guided Lily into the space like a guest of honor. "This is where the magic happens," he joked, rolling up his sleeves. Lily giggled, the sound sharp and beautiful after months of silence. Michael set to work, examining every detail of the wheelchair while keeping the atmosphere light, telling stories of cars he had fixed and the people he had met. Hours passed, but neither Anna nor Lily felt impatient. For the first time, they weren't sitting in a waiting room bracing for bad news. They were watching hope take shape in front of them. Michael's hands moved with steady precision, tightening bolts, rewiring circuits and cleaning mechanisms. He explained everything in simple terms, never condescending, always respectful. Lily asked questions, and Michael answered them like she was his partner, not just a child in need. By the time he looked up, grease smudged across his cheek. Anna realized her heart felt lighter than it had in years. When Michael finally stepped back, the chair hummed with new life. He gave it a gentle push, and it rolled forward smoothly across the garage floor. Lily gasped, her eyes widening as she maneuvered the joystick. For the first time in months, the wheels didn't stutter or stop. She giggled, spinning in a small circle, her laughter echoing off the garage walls. Anna pressed her hand to her mouth, tears spilling freely as she watched her daughter's joy unfold. It was just movement, just a chair, but to them it was everything. Michael smiled softly at Lily, his eyes reflecting a quiet pride rather than boastfulness. "There you go," he said gently. "How does it feel?" Lily's face lit up, her small hands gripping the joystick as she maneuvered around the garage with newfound freedom. I can move!" she exclaimed, spinning carefully and laughing, a sound so pure that Anna's heart swelled with emotion. Tears streamed down Anna's cheeks as she watched her daughter regain a piece of the childhood she had feared lost forever. It wasn't just a wheelchair, it was hope, independence, and a spark of life returning. Anna stepped closer, placing her hand on Michael's shoulder. I don't know how to thank you," she whispered, voice trembling. Michael shrugged modestly, wiping his hands on his rag. "No thanks needed. Seeing her smile is more than enough." He paused, then added with a kind glance at Lily, "Sometimes the smallest gears can make the biggest difference." Lily, now beaming, zoomed around the garage, laughing and testing every turn, every motion. Michael guided her through some adjustments, explaining gently how to control the chair safely. Each time she stopped and looked at him, her eyes sparkled with gratitude, and he returned every glance with encouragement. "You're doing amazing," he said, his tone warm and patient. For Anna, watching this interaction was like witnessing a miracle unfold, one wrought not by machines alone, but by the compassion of a young man willing to try when the world had already given up. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting golden streaks across the garage, Michael finally stepped back and gestured toward the open door. "I think she's ready to show the world," he said with a soft smile. Anna wheeled Lily toward the street outside, her heart pounding with anticipation. Lily moved smoothly, turning corners confidently, stopping and starting without hesitation. Neighbors passing by paused to watch the little girl maneuver her upgraded wheelchair, some smiling, some shaking their heads in astonishment. Lily looked back at Michael, her small face radiant. "Thank you," she called, her voice full of joy. Michael waved, a humble grin spreading across his face, and Anna felt a weight lift from her chest. That single act, taking the time to care, to build, to believe, had restored something far greater than mobility. It had restored hope. That evening, as they left the garage, Lily clutching her newfound freedom and Anna holding her hand tightly, Michael watched them go, knowing that his work had created more than movement. It had sparked life, confidence, and a future filled with possibility. Anna glanced over her shoulder, her eyes meeting Michael's, silently mouthing a heartfelt "thank you." Michael nodded. Slightly, a quiet acknowledgement that sometimes changing a life doesn't require wealth, medicine, or fame. It only requires a willing heart and steady hands. And with that, the garage, once just a space filled with tools and oil, had transformed into a place where miracles quietly, humbly, and beautifully happened every day. The following days transformed Michael's small garage into a place of hope. Every morning he arrived early, sleeves rolled up, tools in hand, determined to unlock possibilities hidden in Lily's worn chair. He studied every wire, bolt, and wheel as if it were the most important project of his life. The chair wasn't just metal and circuits to him. It was freedom waiting to be restored. Anna watched him from the corner, often amazed by his quiet dedication. He asked nothing in return, his focus unwavering. For Michael, this wasn't about machines. It was about giving a child her life back. Lily quickly grew attached to these daily visits. The garage, once an unfamiliar place filled with oil and grease, became her new playground. She'd sit nearby, sketching doodles or watching with wide eyes as Michael explained what each part did. He spoke to her like a partner, not just a child. "These wheels are strong but heavy. We'll replace them with lighter ones," he'd say, letting her touch the parts before fitting them in. Her laughter began filling the space, blending with the sound of clinking tools, turning the garage into a place of joy instead of repairs. Anna often brought meals as thanks, though Michael always waved her kindness away with a grin. "Her smile is enough," he'd insist, setting the food aside. Anna couldn't help but notice how gentle he was, not just with Lily, but in the way he treated everything around him. He never complained about long hours or grease on his hands. Instead, he poured his energy into each adjustment, each detail, as if Lily's future depended on it. For Anna, watching her daughter smile again was priceless. And for the first time in years, she felt hope bloom in her chest. Unlike doctors who spoke in probabilities and percentages, Michael spoke only in possibilities. He didn't promise miracles, but he worked as if one could be built piece by piece. He replaced the clunky old motor with a newer, stronger version he salvaged from discarded parts, adjusted the frame to make it lighter, and redesigned the seat for better comfort. Then in secret, he built a hidden supportive mechanism, a system of gears and braces that could gently help Lily rise and balance. It was risky, untested, but Michael believed. His belief alone was enough to keep Anna steady, though fear still lingered in her heart. Evenings often stretched into late nights, the glow of a single hanging bulb lighting the garage. Michael stayed hunched over the chair, wiping sweat from his brow as he adjusted circuits and tested mechanisms. Lily would sometimes doze off in a corner, and Anna would cover her with a blanket. She found herself admiring Michael in those quiet hours. His patience, his relentless effort, his heart. He wasn't bound by titles or degrees. He was a man who simply cared. And somehow, that care carried more weight than all the medical expertise she had chased for years. Days turned into weeks, and the chair slowly transformed. The clunky, unreliable machine became sleek, responsive, and stronger than before. Lily noticed every change, how smoothly it turned, how fast it moved, how light it felt. But the most mysterious part was the hidden mechanism Michael refused to reveal fully. "That's a surprise," he'd say with a wink, making Lily giggle. Anna grew both anxious and curious, unsure if she could bear the disappointment if it didn't work. But each time she saw Michael's quiet confidence, She allowed herself to believe a little more. One evening, as the sun dipped low and painted the sky in orange and purple, Michael finally called Anna and Lily to the garage. His voice carried both exhaustion and pride. "It's ready," he said softly, wiping his hands on his rag. Anna's heart pounded in her chest as she wheeled Lily closer. The air felt thick with anticipation, the smell of oil and warm air surrounding them like a cloak. For a moment, time seemed to pause, the silence broken only by the distant hum of the city outside. Something extraordinary was about to happen. Michael carefully adjusted the chair, his hands steady yet trembling with anticipation. He guided Lily into the seat, tightening straps, checking every connection twice. Anna stood close, her hands trembling, unsure if she could handle watching hope shatter again if this failed. Michael knelt beside Lily, his voice steady but soft. "Now, I want you to try something," he said, locking eyes with her. "Trust the chair and trust yourself. Try standing." His words carried no command, only encouragement. Lily swallowed nervously, her tiny fingers gripping the armrests, her wide eyes searching both her mother's and Michael's faces for reassurance. Anna held her breath as Michael activated the hidden mechanism. A gentle whir filled the garage, the sound of gears working together in harmony. Slowly, the chair shifted, supporting Lily as she began to rise. Her legs trembled, her arms shook, but the mechanism held her steady, guiding her like invisible hands. Anna gasped loudly, covering her mouth as tears poured down her cheeks. Lily was rising, her body fragile and unused to standing, finding its balance once more. Her small frame wobbled, but she remained upright. For the first time in 3 years, her daughter stood tall. Time seemed to stop. Anna couldn't breathe, her chest tight with shock and overwhelming joy. Her little girl, who had been told she would never stand again, was standing right in front of her eyes. Lily's face lit up with a mixture of fear and awe as she looked down at her feet, planted firmly on the ground. Her lips trembled, and then, almost disbelieving, she whispered, "Mom, I'm standing." Anna fell to her knees, sobbing uncontrollably, her tears dripping onto the concrete floor as she whispered back, "Yes, baby, you're standing." The moment was nothing short of a miracle. Michael watched from the side, his own eyes glistening though he tried to hide it. He clenched his fists, fighting back emotions, not wanting to take credit for what he believed belonged to Lily's courage. "Take your time," he said gently. "Just breathe. You're stronger than you think." Lily took a shaky breath, her small fingers reaching out as if to grab hold of the air itself. Her body trembled, but she stayed upright, supported by both the mechanism and her own determination. Every second she stood felt like a lifetime of prayers being answered in a single heartbeat. Anna moved forward, steadying her daughter with trembling hands. She couldn't stop kissing Lily's forehead, whispering words of encouragement through her tears. "I'm so proud of you, my angel. So proud." Lily giggled softly, her voice trembling but filled with joy. "Look, Mom, I'm tall again," she whispered. Anna laughed through her tears, nodding quickly. "Yes, you are, sweetheart. Taller than the world." For the first time in years, their little family wasn't defined by limits or despair. It was defined by possibility. In that garage, surrounded by tools and grease, a miracle had unfolded in the simplest, most human way. As Lily slowly sat back down, exhausted but glowing with pride, Michael finally allowed himself to exhale. He rubbed the back of his neck, looking away, embarrassed by the tears threatening to fall. "She did it," he muttered softly. Anna turned to him, her face streaked with tears, and placed a hand on his arm. "No," she corrected gently, her voice trembling. "You did this. You gave her back what no one else could." Michael shook his head stubbornly. "She had it in her all along. I just gave her a little push." His humility only deepened Anna's gratitude. That night, as they left the garage, Anna looked back at Michael one last time. He stood in the doorway wiping his hands, a quiet hero hidden in plain sight. Lily waved at him excitedly, still buzzing from the miracle she had experienced. "Thank you, Mr. Michael," she called out. He smiled, lifting his hand in return. "No, Lily," he whispered to himself once they were gone. "Thank you for reminding me what hope looks like. The garage grew quiet again, but the memory of that night lingered in the air, as if even the walls knew they had witnessed something extraordinary. News of Lily's extraordinary moment spread quickly across Houston. Word traveled faster than Anna could have imagined. Neighbors who had once pitied her little family now came knocking at their door, curious and amazed to see the girl who had been confined to a wheelchair now standing, moving, even taking small wobbly steps. Anna welcomed them kindly, but kept her focus on Lily, who giggled with delight each time someone clapped for her. For years she had been hidden behind pitying glances, but now she was the source of hope. Michael, meanwhile, stayed quiet in the background, uncomfortable with praise. The first article appeared in the local paper just days later. A young reporter who had heard rumors stopped by the garage, notebook in hand, eager to capture the story. She watched as Michael adjusted the chair while Lily walked a few shaky steps, her mother cheering her on. The reporter's headline read, "Mechanic defies science, girl walks again." Almost overnight, the garage became a landmark of sorts. Strangers stopped by simply to shake Michael's hand, to thank him, or to ask for his help. Still, he kept insisting, "I'm no miracle worker." Lily did this. She found her strength. Despite the sudden attention, life at home remained beautifully simple for Anna and Lily. Mornings now began with laughter instead of tears. Lily would practice standing while holding onto the kitchen counter, wobbling but refusing to give up. Anna, coffee in hand, would clap and encourage her, her eyes shining with pride. The joy in their home was unrecognizable from the despair that once filled it. Every small step Lily took was a victory, every giggle a reminder that hope could bloom in the unlikeliest soil. Anna often caught herself whispering silent prayers of gratitude for the day Michael entered their lives. Michael himself stayed grounded. He continued fixing cars during the day, his garage still smelling of oil and rubber. But now there was something different about the space. It wasn't just a workplace anymore. It was where a miracle had been born. People dropped by with cakes, notes, and even small gifts, thanking him for what he had done for Lily. He always smiled politely, accepting their gratitude. But when the garage door closed, he sat alone, replaying Lily's laughter in his mind. That sound had become his greatest reward, louder than any applause or recognition the world could offer. One sunny afternoon, Anna brought Lily to the park, determined to let her feel the joy of running on grass, something she had long forgotten. Michael joined them, reluctantly agreeing after Anna insisted. The park was alive with children's laughter, dogs barking, and parents chatting, but all Anna could see was her daughter's face lighting up as she took hesitant steps on the green lawn. Each step was clumsy, unsteady, but to Lily it felt like flying. "Look, Mom. Look, Mr. Michael," she squealed, her arms spread wide. Anna clapped, her heart overflowing, while Michael smiled faintly, his eyes soft with pride. It was then that Lily, her small legs trembling but determined, ran as best she could toward Michael. She stumbled into his arms, hugging him tightly with all the strength her tiny frame could muster. "You made me believe again," she whispered against his chest, her voice muffled but full of truth. Michael froze, overwhelmed by the weight of her words. He slowly bent down to meet her eye level, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "No, Lily," he said quietly, his voice thick with emotion. "You believed in yourself. I just helped you see it." Anna stood nearby, tears blurring her vision as she watched the exchange. She had spent years praying for this moment, but nothing could have prepared her for the sight of her daughter clinging to Michael with such love and trust. Stepping closer, she placed a hand on Michael's shoulder, her voice trembling but strong. "You didn't just fix her chair," she said softly, her eyes glistening. "You gave us back our lives." Michael shifted uncomfortably, his usual humility taking over. "I only did what anyone would have done," he muttered. But Anna shook her head firmly. "No, Michael." No one else did. From that day their bond grew stronger. Michael became more than just the man who had repaired a wheelchair. He became part of their family. He shared meals with them, fixed small things around the house, and listened to Anna's stories late into the evening. For Lily, he became a hero, a role model, and the friend who never doubted her. For Anna, he became a reminder that kindness could change lives more than wealth, degrees, or titles ever could. The garage mechanic who once blended into the city had now rewritten the destiny of a mother and child. As months passed, Lily grew stronger. With practice, her steps became steadier, her movements more confident. Doctors who once shook their heads in pity now studied her case in disbelief. Some called it luck, others called it science, but Anna knew it was something deeper. It was the power of compassion, determination, and belief. One afternoon, as she watched her daughter chase butterflies in the yard, Anna whispered to herself, "They gave up, but he didn't." Her voice cracked, but her smile never faded. It was a truth she would carry forever, the truth that miracles often come in unexpected forms. Michael never sought recognition for what he had done. Though people tried to give him awards or publicity, he always declined politely. For him, the reward was in the simple moments. Lily laughing as she ran across the grass, Anna's grateful smile when their eyes met, or the quiet satisfaction of knowing he had made a difference. He lived humbly, continuing his work in the garage, but his life was forever changed. He had been part of something bigger than himself, something that reminded him why humanity still mattered in a world so quick to give up. Years later, when Lily would tell her story to others, she never mentioned doctors or hospitals first. She always began with Michael, the mechanic who believed when no one else did. She spoke of his kindness, his patience, and how his heart had carried more power than all the machines in the world. And each time Anna would smile, silently agreeing, because she knew deep down that her daughter's first steps weren't just a miracle for Lily, they were a miracle for all of them. What the world had labeled impossible, one mechanic's compassion had made possible.